KPF's New York home is on 42nd Street, and it could be one of the greatest streets, should be one of the greatest streets in the world. It connects the UN to the Chrysler Building, to Grand Central Station, Bryant Park, the Public Library, Times Square, Port Authority Bus Terminal, even over to the Hudson River. In any other city, just having two of those on one street would make it the major access of that city. There's obviously a missed opportunity to elevate 42nd Street to a world-class street like Las Ramblas or other iconic streets, Oxford Street, Champs-Élysées. There's probably a few reasons why 42nd Street has languished in the public imagination of the city. Fifth Avenue, 6th Avenue, Madison Avenue, Park Avenue. Our public imagination tends to view the north-south streets as the dominating organizing principle of neighborhoods in Manhattan. And the cross streets, major ones even, 14th Street, 23rd, 34th, 42nd, have languished. Our business improvement districts in New York are organized around either specific areas like Bryant Park or around avenues like Fifth Avenue, Park Avenue. And 42nd Street itself bisects 5 or 6 of these business improvement districts, each one trying to elevate a portion of the street, no one or two trying to unify 42nd Street as a major axis. So there's an opportunity here to holistically rethink 42nd Street. Manhattan's an island, and we've done a lot of work to rezone and upzone density along the East River and the Hudson River, and yet our ferry system is not a mass transit system yet. So by linking the ferry to these major east-west arteries, we can connect all of those residents that are along the Brooklyn waterfront, the Queens waterfront, to the heart of Midtown Manhattan and turn the ferry system into a mass transit system.
Based on your observations and thesis, we started looking into data around this, and a couple of things that were really interesting. If you look at the working population around each ferry stop along Brooklyn and Queens, 59% work in Manhattan, with the majority along 42nd Street. So moving the ferry and connecting it to a streetcar would dramatically improve their commutes. And then when we looked at the built density and uses along 42nd Street, we found that there was entire neighborhoods within neighborhoods within there, with just a few blocks were equal to whole neighborhoods across the city. So maybe if we dive in and we first look at the east side where we have the ferry stop, one of the things that we found there is that it's concentration of residential and office. And for example, just a cluster of 4 office buildings there have the same square footage as 12 blocks around Union Square, which is, we already
remarkable.
Shockingly quiet for the amount of density. There's few street trees, there's almost no public space, and it really needs some activation.
Right. So the ferry is delivering commuters, some commuters from Brooklyn to 34th Street, but is that walk from 34th Street to 42nd Street, or the public transportation connections from 34th to the interior of Midtown Manhattan are lacking. That eastern edge of Midtown along 42nd Street, when combined with a new ferry terminal, ferry stop, could start to take on kind of facilitating, funneling quality to the neighborhood. We could probably radically transform 42nd Street and make it a kind of welcoming entrance to Midtown. It would allow that really mixed-use neighborhood of residential and office to not be overwhelmed by commuters, but facilitate either public transportation connections along a tram or through pedestrians.
And that's a really good observation if we start moving further west and get more into the heart of the office district around Grand Central, where the density is even more incredible, where it peaks at 30 FAR, and for example, Greenwich Village is 3.5 FAR. So there's a dramatic difference. And just the 4 blocks around One Vanderbilt next to Grand Central have as much square footage as 12 blocks in the financial district, which is wild, because that's also a highly dense office district. When we were exploring, kind of walking the street and pairing our data with observations, that is the most crowded area that we found, because it has the highest density office, you have tourists, and besides Pershing Square, there's no public space.
Right.
It sort of needs the most extreme intervention, because it's dealing with high density and congestion, lots of people, very little public space.
Yeah, and we've seen the effect of good public policy on the public space there already with One Vanderbilt, the plaza that we were part of, the creation of that plaza along Vanderbilt Avenue. You know, if that tram from the ferries were connecting commuters, connecting to the train lines there, to the Metro North lines there, and really creating a amplified transit-oriented hub at that location around Grand Central, those pocket parks, those areas of relief, of sidewalk relief, of taking down the vehicle lanes and really trying to focus on pedestrian rush hour and making sure that those connections were seamless. That could do a lot to make the quality of life and the quality of working in Midtown better.
And then if we're looking around Grand Central Terminal, which has an incredible amount of density between office workers and tourists, the sidewalks are overwhelmed. Because of the high density of office, it needs active car and truck access. So here we would do something where we propose more temporal pedestrianization, where during peak times we have huge amounts of pedestrian, the road, except for the streetcar, would get taken over with public space that would then be returned back to the car for deliveries and that sort of access.
And streetcar really becomes the kind of skewer that connects all these disparate business improvement districts, all these disparate neighborhoods, and provides the continuity river to river to allow the ferry system to become the mass transit system. The sidewalks become the artery for the pedestrians, and then that flex space in the road becomes the kind of time-managed relief valve for density.
And it's interesting because we move west to Times Square. This is the neighborhood that currently most reflects what it is. You go there and you know it's a great entertainment district. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that's happened, and to your point about the north-south avenues, those have been improved with protected bike lanes, streets, pedestrian bump outs, the pedestrianization of plazas in Times Square, and none of that has actually come to 42nd Street. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly crowded. They have the cement blocks along there. And so there's a missed opportunity to turn this, to add that as part of the entertainment district.
Yeah, it is America's most dense entertainment district. And yet the moment it hits this major east-west artery is the moment the pedestrianization ends and the kind of chaos of the New York grid starts again. And so I think what is required there is a kind of amplification of the pedestrianization that's occurred along the avenues, but along 42nd Street. Right, so we're talking about more street realm given over to the pedestrian, more seating, more of that public realm extending to the edge of 42nd Street.
Yeah, and it's an important moment for the streetcar because, like with Grand Central, this plugs into two major transit access there.
Yeah, this is the
Port
Oxford.
Authority.
If you look at the Oxford Street pedestrianization that's occurring in London, this is the Oxford Circus of New York, of Manhattan, and so we need to acknowledge that kind of the high density usage that's occurring at this place.
Yeah, and this might be a place that I would choose to walk through. Currently, I avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, most New Yorkers do.
That's actually most of 42nd Street. I'll go on side streets instead of walking along it. And speaking of avoiding, moving to the last 3 blocks, the 3 sets of residential blocks along the west side, there's as much residential square footage as 24 blocks in Brooklyn Heights. Yet it has none of that vibrancy. It doesn't have public space, parks, the retail. It feels like a place that you just want to move through. But it's like an entire neighborhood. And one of the problems is at that point, the street is way too wide for a residential neighborhood, so it sort of suffers from that.
Yeah, this neighborhood along that part of 42nd Street is home to a lot of New Yorkers, and yet there is no heart, there is no there to that neighborhood that they can coalesce around as a community. And so there's an opportunity in that part of 42nd Street to really be bold and to reimagine a public realm that's more residential focused, that really points away towards high density living with public space interspersed around these high density towers.
That should be a model for other global cities. Each neighborhood within neighborhood should be a model of, you want to do a great office district, this is how you do it. You want to do a great residential district, and currently it's not. This is sort of a call to New York. It needs to live up to its potential.
Yeah, and I think, we haven't talked about it yet, but 42nd Street, unlike 57th Street or 14th Street or 23rd Street or even 34th Street, is really the most high-density mixed-use street in America, right? Its character is really varied. It has high-density residential, it has high-density office, it has all of these transportation interchanges, not just regional train, not just regional buses, but subways and other bus lines. We're proposing introducing a tram line, become the incubator for every single cross street in Manhattan, 14th Street, 23rd Street, 34th Street, and really, which are more single use in their nature and more uniform in their density, and therefore should be easier to tackle.
So how does New York get this done? Who advocates for 42nd Street?
I think when you look back at the last 20 years of New York's history, one of the great things we've accomplished as a city is rezoning density around public space. We've done it along the waterfronts. We're starting to do it around north-south avenues. And so the mechanisms for this change are all around us. They're tried and tested. What is lacking is a cohesive vision for 42nd Street that ties together all these neighborhoods, ties together the business improvement district. And really what we're saying is with a little bit of public investment, right? Maybe it's a streetcar, maybe it's just a dedicated bus line that's a kind of more special bus that really takes you from River to Grand Central to Times Square to River. With these small interventions, new ferry terminals don't cost much money when you compare it to the Second Avenue subway line or the extension of the number 7 line. We can radically shift the way people commute in the city for pennies on the dollar.
Your point about streetcar or bus rapid transit is good because someone might say, well, we already have dedicated bus lanes there, but they don't work. We walked street to street, river to river a couple of times, and one of the things that we found is that for the majority of the bus route, it doesn't use the bus lanes. It's mixed in with traffic, and part of that is because there's so many cars pulled over for pickups and deliveries, and so it's only pulling over to do drop-offs and pickups. Actually making that a true dedicated space for either a streetcar or bus rapid transit makes a lot of sense.
In many ways, 42nd Street embodies all of the energy of Manhattan. It has all of the energy of Midtown office, all of the energy of high density living, of the best of New York entertainment, the most vibrantly programmed public space in Bryant Park, of New York's public library, of many of our most iconic skyscrapers. And so the opportunity to turn 42nd Street into a really world-class, recognized beating heart for New Yorkers, not just for commuters, but as a place to do business, a place to live, and a place to feel proud of. With a few small urban interventions, we could transform this avenue forever.